Hello, and welcome to Phrasal Verbs versus one-word verbs. This video is really about style. One way to create style in your personal appearance is to choose the most appropriate clothes for the occasion. Your favorite t-shirt and jeans may be your favorite clothes, but sometimes you need to dress for respect. That requires different choices. One way to create style in writing is to use the most appropriate words for the situation. The words you choose can make a big difference. In this video, you'll hear how phrasal verbs indicate style. You'll see what they are and how to identify them. You'll be able to distinguish between phrasal verbs and other verb combinations when you're finished. You'll also discover when to use them. Finally, you'll find a list of some common phrasal verbs and their one-word equivalents. If you apply these concepts in your academic writing, your great ideas will get the respect they deserve. What are phrasal verbs, and why do we need to talk about them? Chances are you're already familiar with phrasal verbs, but here's a quick review in case you forgot. Phrasal verbs are combinations of verbs and prepositions or adverbs. Together, they make a new word. Here's an example. The verb put and the preposition off together mean postpone, as in, I usually put off or postpone writing assignments until the last minute. Or turn and away, which together mean deny entrance, as in, the football stadium filled up quickly and hundreds of fans were turned away. The meaning of phrasal verbs is not obvious from the dictionary definitions of the individual words. For example, I looked up the word turn and found that it could mean twist. I looked up away and found that it could mean in another direction. If I replace the phrasal verb turn away with the meanings I found, I get the soccer stadium filled up quickly, so thousands of fans were twisted in another direction. It sounds painful, doesn't it? And it makes no sense. If you come across a phrase and it makes sense with the literal meanings of the words, you are not working with a phrasal verb. Consider this next sentence. He put out the cat. He put out the cat means he opened the door and placed the cat outside. In this case, put out is not a phrasal verb. However, he put out the fire means he extinguished the fire, so in this case, put out is a phrasal verb. See if you can tell if the underlined words are phrasal verbs. A lot of people give up when things get tough. Yes, give up is a phrasal verb. It means quit. How about this one? Matt brought up 2 boxes of old clothes from the basement. We cannot replace this phrase with a single word. Brought up is not a phrasal verb in this case. How about this one? Dr. Strident brought up the fact that I had been late with 2 previous assignments when she refused to accept my final paper. Now, what do you think? If you thought phrasal verb, you're right. Brought up could be replaced with mentioned. If you can't make sense with the literal meanings of the words, you have probably stumbled onto a phrasal verb. It happens a lot. That's because phrasal verbs are very popular in English, especially in conversation, and new ones are created all the time. So phrasal verbs are words that have been created from combinations of verbs and prepositions or adverbs and have meanings all their own. Phrasal verbs add color and life to everyday speech, and ESL students who use them sound more like native speakers of English and are better able to communicate with peers. But phrasal verbs are less welcome in academic settings. That's because they are considered informal or casual, and academic language tends to be very formal. Phrasal verbs just don't get much respect, so they're largely avoided in academic writing. But not in academic speaking. You can still hear a lot of them in academic speaking, say in a lecture. But how often do they show up in academic writing? Well, take a look at this table. Researchers found that phrasal verbs are used 1,900 times per million words in fiction, 1,800 in conversation, 1,400 times per million in newspapers, and only 800 times per million in academic writing. Now, here's a photo of 1 million people. Imagine only 800 people in that crowd representing phrasal verbs. That makes them pretty rare, doesn't it? Through the miracle of math, I have reduced the numbers proportionally so that you can see the relationship even better. This screen represents a sample of academic writing with 1,250 words. According to the research, we would find only one instance of a phrasal verb in such a sample. Okay, I hope I've convinced you that phrasal verbs are very rare in academic writing because they are just not formal enough. So, what do you use instead of phrasal verbs? The answer is to use their one-word equivalents. Here are some common phrasal verbs and their one-word equivalents. Bring up means raise. Bring on by means cause by. Come up with is develop. And you can read the rest on your own. Now, which of these two statements sounds more formal? A. The tyrannical leader would not put up with divergent opinions. Or B. The tyrannical leader would not tolerate divergent opinions. Choice B is more formal, right? How about these two? It will take 3 years to implement the strategic plan. Or it will take 3 years to put the strategic plan into practice. If you guess choice A, you're right. Oh, there's my little or. Okay, I think you're ready for the wrap-up, so here goes. Phrasal verbs are new words made from combinations of verbs and prepositions or adverbs. Together, they make one new word. They are very common in casual speech, but they are not formal enough for academic writing. If you want your ideas to enjoy wide acceptance in the academic world, use one-word verbs instead of phrasal verbs. By doing so, you'll be meeting your readers' expectations. You'll be showing respect, and you'll be gaining respect for your own ideas. You can find more phrasal verbs and their equivalents if you Google phrasal verbs and one-word verbs. Well, that's all for now. Goodbye. Keep writing, and remember, use one-word verbs instead of phrasal verbs.